Men blowing off steam once a year during Halloween would represent a man's emotion in current times. When he does express his concerns, feelings, or even stands up for himself every once in a while. It becomes hard for society to handle, and especially hard for women to deal with, because it creates a lot of confusion and takes away.
Hey, why do people hate the truth? Especially,
Let me ask you this. When you saw the elephant in the room, how did it make you feel?
It made me feel uncomfortable.
And there's your answer, hence why you chose to ignore it. I rest my case.
Greetings everyone, Tyrone the Vampire here. Welcome to Male Conversations Unlocked. The classroom, for men, where common sense is not something you were born with, but what you were taught. Today, we have in our midst a very special guest, one who you could say have been around for a long time, and have seen quite a lot under her time being alive, and seeing such abashing things in this modern society, and how being entitled is now a norm for women, why they will fail, and how it correlates with Halloween matchmaking. But before that, tell us a little about yourself.
Thank you for having me. For those who don't know me, I'm Susan, and I'm a witch that has been around for a few centuries, performed many rituals, and have come to realize that modern female entitlement is no different from how women were enabled in those times. This is just a remix of that era, or even worse.
Really? I think this is going to really upset a lot of people, but hope both men and women can learn from the gems that you're about to drop.
Sadly, you're not lying. Before we get into the meat of the matter, let me give a short summary of the origins of Halloween for those who are not aware of the roots of the second largest commercial holiday after Christmas. You see, Halloween is a holiday celebrated each year on October 31. The tradition originated with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain around 2,000 years ago, when people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off ghosts. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1 as a time to honor All Saints. Soon, All Saints' Day incorporated some of the traditions of Samhain. The evening before was known as All Hallows' Eve, and later Halloween. Over time, Halloween evolved into a day of activities like trick-or-treating, carving jack-o'-lanterns, festive gatherings, donning costumes, and eating treats.
I think that's a good synopsis on how Halloween came to be. Hope that brought the audience up to speed. You said, or rather mentioned, that trick-or-treating is depicted in the current dating world, work environment, and even marriages, thus giving women this sense that they can get everything for nothing. And clearly, that's not what's happening.
That's so true, and I'm glad you resurrected that statement. Because if you take a look at trick-or-treat, which, borrowing from European traditions, Americans began to dress up in costumes and go house to house asking for food or money, a practice that eventually became today's tradition. The interesting thing about this tradition is that young women believed that on Halloween, they could divine the name or appearance of their future husband by doing tricks with yarns, apple parings, or mirrors. Does that sound familiar?
That sounds really similar to what women are doing on social media, by posing on Instagram with fake booties and breasts in order to get attention. But I'll let you elaborate more on the issue to gain better clarity.
Quite perceptive. I'm impressed. And just to add, Halloween was also the one night in the year where it was seen as a positive outlet for young men to blow off steam. However, it became a problem during the Great Depression. Hence, once again, trick-or-treating was organized using parties, costume parades, and haunted houses to keep them occupied.
What exactly are you saying? Because this is a very deep statement.
Think about it this way. Men blowing off steam once a year during Halloween would represent a man's emotion in current times. When he does express his concerns, feelings, or even stands up for himself every once in a while. It becomes hard for society to handle and especially hard for women to deal with because it creates a lot of confusion and takes away the limelight from ladies in today's world. That's why, in order to contain a man, they often use tactics like misogyny, toxic masculinity, cancel culture, womanism, false allegations, using the term "my body, my choice" out of its context when it benefits the pockets, abusing the Me Too movement outside of its designated purpose, which is limiting how they get men to date them, and a whole lot more simply because it is necessary to keep lions in cages, in order to feel good about being delusional.
You do have a point there. I'm sure a lot of men would agree with this, and a lot of women would be mad. But at the same time, there are women who don't understand the graves that they are digging for themselves, and are trying to understand what they're getting themselves into. So I'm sure they can learn something so they don't find themselves lost like those before them.
That's because nothing is as simple as it seems, and that many things in life tend to be related in one way or the other. And trick or treat is no different from a woman's perception of how she believes dating and other societal things should work in her favor. It's simply, give me my treat or I'll have to play nasty tricks on you no matter how severe.
I'm sure many of our audiences are being well informed right now.
I sure hope so.
Now, for the more uncomfortable part of the conversation that I'm sure will act as emotional bedbugs under modern women's psychological mattress.
Indeed, that's a good way to put it. Though there are many examples that correlates with current dating and issues that bring entitlement for women. Here are at least 3 relations between the forgotten Halloween traditions that trick-or-treating included. And in particular, many had to do with helping young women identify their future husbands and reassuring them that they would someday, with luck, by next Halloween, be married.
Oh, women are about to be mad.
1. In the 18th century Ireland, a matchmaking cook might bury a ring in her mashed potatoes on Halloween night, hoping to bring true love to the diner who found it. This is no different than a woman telling another woman that if she thinks of her ring and dress and does nothing to make herself better, a husband will miraculously appear. Bullshit. 2. In Scotland, fortune tellers recommended that an eligible young woman name a hazelnut for each of her suitors and then toss the nuts into the fireplace. The nuts that burn to ashes rather than popping or exploding, the story went, represented the girl's future husband. In some versions of this legend, the opposite was true. The nuts that burned away symbolized a love that would not last. This is not different from a woman on a dating app such as Tinder swiping left in hope of finding a husband or even a date. The flip side to this is also that even if she meets him on the first swipe, it's more likely that this so-called love would not last. And we all know how those experiments normally turns out. 3. Child support. The treat is that you as the man take care of your child after it's born even if you specifically told her you didn't want children. But if you have money, that's all that counts. Isn't that right, Brittany Renner?
I'm not sorry.
The trick would come to you in a few ways. She ruins your reputation if you only choose to support your child and not her. Even though the law clearly calls it child support. You're automatically placed on child support if you should find another woman before she finds a man, and you can also be prevented from seeing your child just because she can. While there are other trick-or-treating schemes women use when they don't get what they didn't work for, such as half a man's life earnings during a divorce, false allegations of assault when clearly the man said he didn't want anything from you but sex, and many more. It is only a matter of time before the Guinness World Records report the year for the most single women in history.
Wow, that was a mouthful. Thank you, Susan, for enlightening us with your knowledge. And ladies, this knowledge is for your own good. These tricks will only get you in the door, but won't allow you to stay in the building. Class dismiss.